Alright guys, hope you guys are doing good today. We're focusing on the quadratic formula. It's a very large concept that is integral to everything you're going to do from here through multivariable calculus. So what we need to know is first what a quadratic formula equation looks like. So what we're looking at here is we've got ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. The important thing is it has a squared term, and the x squared is your largest power. So this is called the degree, whatever the highest power is. So the degree of this equation is 2, which makes this a quadratic. Now, when we're using the quadratic formula, what it's going to show us, oh, why is it not working? I'm not sure why it's not letting me write right there, but this is just a parabola. And let's see if I can do it a little bit lower. Just a parabola, a U-shaped equation when it's done. And these x-intercepts are also called zeros and solutions. Thank you. So what we need to be able to do is there's multiple steps to this, but the first thing we need to be able to do is we need to be able to pull A, B, and C out. So let's get some numbers. 3x squared minus 4x minus 39. The number with your x squared term is always your A. Doesn't matter what order they're in. It'll usually be given to you in this order because this is called standard form. But the first thing we need to do is just know that anything that's with the x squared term is your A. Whatever number is with your x term is your B. And we're going to bring that sign with it. That negative with the 4 is coming too. Then the constant term, or the number without a variable, is your C. That's the first step. Being able to pull those numbers out, super important. And then what we do with them is we plug them into the quadratic formula. This is the quadratic formula. It's kind of long, and I don't love it. I love that it works, and I love that it's useful, but I would much rather factor any day of the week than use the quadratic formula. But there will be multiple problems you can't solve without using the quadratic formula. So we're going to practice using this. We're going to just set it up. So x equals the opposite of b. In this case, b is negative 4 plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And that's it. If you can do this, where you pull out the A, the B, the C, and you can put them in the correct places, then you can do the first half of today's assignment. Let me show you how you're going to put it into the computer. So when you pull up your Google Doc, when you pull up your Google Doc, it's probably going to look like this. Just go over here, make it as big as you need to. This is all a picture that I've set as the background so that you don't have to try to put in the plus or minus or the square root. You just need to be able to pull these numbers out and plug them in their appropriate locations. For example, now I've put text boxes over every single colored one, every colored background. So A is the number in front, so that's a 4. B is the number with the second term, negative 8. Now you'll notice because I put the negative in, it's a little too small to see. Just drag it over a little bit. No problem. See? The constant term at the end. Negative 12. If you need to, you can adjust the boxes. It's not a big deal. Just make sure I can read it. Now that I have this, the green goes where the green, pink, blue. Pretty self-explanatory. Again, I'm just going to adjust it a little bit so that the 8 fits. Negative 8. You can adjust it whichever way you need to. Oh, I did 9 on accident. Typo. Oh. Well, let me type in here. And then 4. That's it for the first 10 problems or so. Just being able to pull out those numbers are key. Now I'm going to show you what you do with them. I'm going to go to here. So you'll see that there's more complicated options here, and some of them are really long. Some of them are no solution. Some of them are just numbers. So what I would do, again here, I made this multiple choice so you wouldn't have to put in long answers. You can just, whatever you're getting for your answer, like, so for example, if it's A, you put A, B, I mean, pretty self-explanatory there. Keep it simple. Let's do, trying to find, I'll do a couple. I'll do one that's similar to this, where there's not a center term. And I'm gonna do 3 different ones. Let me show you. Okay. So let's start with one that's gonna come out fairly nice. Let's say that I have 4x squared minus 4x minus 8 equals 0. Well, again, I want to know that this is my A, this is my B, this is my C. So now I'm just going to plug it into the quadratic formula. X equals plus or minus, opposite of B, plus or minus the square root, B squared minus 4AC, all over 2A. Now I'm just going to plug it in. Opposite of B. Well, the opposite of a negative is a positive. Plus or minus square root. A is 4, C is negative 8. All over 2A. And now we just simplify. Most of the time it's going to be really easy to simplify this to a couple of points. So we can't cross anything out top or bottom until we get rid of this square root and we combine it to just one term on the top or one term on the bottom. The 4 is going to be just chilling. The plus or minus stays. Negative 4 squared is positive 16. This is 4 times 8. Negative times a negative is a positive. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 8, don't know off the top of my head. So we're going to just look it up. 16 times 8. 128. 2 times 4, 8. I made my sticky notes, thanks. 16 plus 128 is 144. Now remember, when we're simplifying this square root right here, we're going to use menu. No, not 3, 2. 2, 3. I'm getting 2 to the 4th and 3 squared. For some reason, this part of my screen's not working. 2 to the 4th, 3 squared. So I'm going to have 4 plus or minus the square root. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, all over 8. Now this is pretty nice because I've got a group of 2, group of 2, group of 3. I'm going to bring each one of those out. So now it's 4 plus or minus 2 times 2 times 3. 4 plus or minus 2 times 2 is 4 times 3 is 12 all over 8. So I've got two different answers now. I'm going to have 4 plus 12 over 8 and 4, that's a comma, minus 12 over 8. 4 plus 12, that's going to be 16 divided by 8, which is 2. 4 take away 12, that's going to be negative 8 divided by 8, which is negative 1. So my two answers are x equals 2 and x equals x equals 2 and negative 1. Those are my two answers. Now I want you to practice using this quadratic formula. It's going to be important that you can do that in Algebra 2. Let's try another one, another scenario you might see. What happens if there's no middle term? What happens if a term is missing? Well, I'm actually going to show you how to do this with the quadratic, but I'm also going to point out a couple of ways you can make this easier. So this, remember, it's always ax squared plus bx plus c. A is with your x squared term, whatever your squared term. So my a is negative 3. My b doesn't exist. There is no middle term that has just a p to the power of 1. But I do have, so I have no b, but my c is 27. And then we just do it like normal. Plug it into the formula. In this case, it's my x. It's going to be p. The opposite of b, which is 0, plus or minus square root b squared minus 4a c all over 2a. Well, this actually is pretty easy because there's so many zeros. The entire front of the equation is 0, so I don't have to write it. I'm going to have my square root. Well, I've got 0, don't need to write that down. Negative times negative is a positive. 4 times 3 times 27. Pulling out my calculator. Comes out to 324 all over negative 6. Well, now we're going to break down that 324. Remember, we're going to use menu. 2, 3. There's like a little broken area. The little area of my screen is broken. I'm going to do menu 2, 3. 324. And I'm getting 2 twice, 3 4 times, all over negative 6. I'm going to group them up in groups of 2. 2, 3, 3. Kill one from each group. Bring what I have left outside. Oh, I can't forget the plus or minus. I'm sorry. Because you need two answers. So I've got plus or minus 2 times 3 times 3, all over negative 6. Well, 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 3, 18. So I've got plus or minus 18 over 6, which is going to reduce to plus or minus 3. Now, these don't really cancel out. You can think of it as like a negative 18 over a negative 6. which is going to be positive 3, and a positive 18 over a negative 6, which is a negative 3. So you're still getting plus and minus 3. The negative on the denominator would have more of an effect if b was something besides 0. So my answer is just going to be positive 3 and negative 3. That's it. Now let's do one that doesn't come out so beautiful. Let's do one where you have to reduce. Why is it? Oh, I'm not on that layer. And negative 20. So what we're going to start with again is identifying A, B, and C. A, B, C. Just going to plug them into the formula. Opposite of B, A is B, plus or minus the square root of B squared. Sorry, that's supposed to be 8. Minus 4, A is 6, and C is negative 20. All over 2A. So let's break it down. This first term is pretty much always just going to come down until we can simplify the square root. 8 squared is 64. 4 times 6 times 20. The negative times the negative makes a positive. If for some reason you get a negative inside the square root, your answer is no solution. You cannot take a square root of a negative number. And then all over 2 times 6 is 12. So 480 plus 64. Sorry. I'm still not 100% yet. All over 12. And now we need to break this down again. Again, we're going to use menu 2, 3 to break that down. $5.44, menu 2, 3. Wow, that's a lot of 2s. Thing 5 2s and 117. Again, we're just going to group them up in groups of 2. Kill one off. So I've got 2 2s that are coming out. And I've got 2 times 17 stuck inside. 2 times 17 is 34. All over 12. So we're almost done, but we need to try to reduce overall. So I've got x equals negative 8. 2 times 2 is 4. Plus or minus 4 square root 34. All over 12. Now, if I want to reduce, I have to be able to take it out of the negative 8, this square root term, and the denominator. It has to come out of each one of those. I can take a 4 out of each one of those. So negative 8 divided by 4 is negative 2. I would cancel out this 4, and it's just going to become 1. And the square root 34 stays. And the 12 divided by 4 is now 3. And this is your answer. You are done. All right, guys, please sign up for the office hours. I've put together a bunch of different things to try to help you. Please let me know what you need. Proud of you for trying. Hope I get to see you sometime. Bye, guys.